Welcome back to Alberta Primetime and the Vocal Point now. Strip club owners are threatening to begin recruiting at high schools and catching Alberta speeders by plane. Our Wednesday crime panel debates those issues tonight. Keith Spencer is a former assistant jail warden and retired criminologist. Rod Gregory is a practicing defense lawyer, and Jason Van Rassel is with the Calgary Herald. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Police across the country are warning young women in high school and post-secondary institutions that the Adult Entertainment Association of Canada is expanding recruitment beyond temporary foreign workers now, and that the federal government is halting temporary visas or extensions for exotic dancers from other countries. Jason, resorting to high schools to recruit, assess the labor crunch for the strip clubs for us.
I guess it's important for me to say right off the bat that any expertise I have on this subject is strictly through my capacity as a reporter and is on paper and not firsthand. But getting that significant caveat out of the way, I think the first thing is, do we really believe that there is a labor crunch in this industry? I think what we have here is the adult entertainment industry trying to gain a little bit of attention, gain a little bit of shock value. They're upset that this temporary foreign worker program has been ended by the Conservative government. If you look at the numbers, between about 2001 and 2004, there were something like 1,700 exotic dancers brought into the country under the temporary foreign worker program. For the same time period after that, another 4 or 5 years, that number shrank to about 500, and in the year 2011 there were only 8. So this is a program that's been choked off quite regularly over the last 5-6 years. I'm not entirely sure that there really is an issue there.
Rod, beyond the perhaps side issues, important as they are of potential human trafficking of foreign women, it is illegal to involve a minor in the adult entertainment industry. So what legal recourse might schools or other campuses have here? It's a slam dunk for some of them, isn't it?
Well, they made it clear that they were only targeting people 18 years of age or older.
Not many of those in high school.
Not many of those in high school. I cannot see any high school letting anyone canvass anything like this anywhere close to a high school, a university, or a shopping center.
Even a shopping center?
Well, they have to get permission to be in a shopping center to do that. The owners of the shopping center can say, you're not allowed in.
Where do they typically recruit them, if not from foreign ranks?
Well, I think they use multimedia in personal ads and online. They're, I think, resourceful, just like any other modern company or modern industry.
Keith, it seems kind of unusual that this Adult Entertainment Association would make such a bold announcement, angry as they are about the new federal immigration changes. It's bizarre a little bit, isn't it?
Well, I think it is interesting, and I think one of the reasons they've done that is to maybe put pressure on the government to change the legislation. But one of the realities is that I think 30% of the workers in this field are students of one kind or another, putting themselves through university or whatever it is. And I don't know why they're not recruiting seniors, because demographically, a whole bunch of 71-year-old retired professors might be great pole dancers and bring in an audience.
You never know. I'm not even going to touch that. Jason.
With a 10-foot pole.
Aside from hiring temporary foreign workers as strippers, Jason, talk to us a little bit about where some of these Alberta girls are being recruited from, and maybe how difficult it might be to extract a daughter, a sister, a niece, someone who's not there voluntarily trying to pay tuition from that kind of a business.
We need to be clear that stripping and the adult entertainment industry generally is a legal business. You know, what these proprietors are doing is legal, but I don't think it's any secret, and I don't think we're taking a great leap by saying it's also a predatory business, you know, that focuses primarily on exploiting women who maybe have low skills, not a lot of education, and want to earn a lot of money very quickly. There's certainly that allure. You know, Keith mentioned, of course, the student element there, and there's no doubt that there are some very intelligent, empowered women who do go into this line of work wanting the money and getting the money that they need and then getting out. But I think they're more the exception than the rule. what you often see is a high number of women in the sex business and in the adult entertainment business who are addicted, who have been abuse victims, and do have a hard time getting out and trying to find a line of work after they've gotten used to making the kind of money that they do in the adult entertainment business.
And that's a bit of the warning from police, including in Alberta, trying to warn young women, this isn't the life that you might think that it is. Rod, how well do you think the industry is policed in our province?
Well, I think it's hypocritical of the government to enjoy the vices of gambling, alcohol, and cigarettes, but they don't really seem to care about having a support network for disadvantaged people in society. And why not have something set up so a hotline or support groups or counseling,
or liaisons in the clubs,
something through government to give these people a chance, if they don't want to be in the industry, to better themselves through education, those kinds of things. I agree with Jason. I think people getting an education are the exception more than the rule, but I've certainly been in contact with people who've said, hey, I'm doing this to pay for my university, and they get their schooling and then they're done.
Next up, traffic police in airplanes. Is it a good way to catch Alberta's worst speeders? Will it even work? That's when the Wednesday Crime Panel returns here on Alberta Primetime. Welcome back to Alberta Primetime and the Wednesday Crime Panel. Alberta Justice Minister and Solicitor General Jonathan Dennis has announced the province will put planes in the sky to monitor vehicles on the notoriously dangerous Highway 63. Dennis says aerial and ground enforcement will work together to catch speeders. No cost is being released. Dennis says he hopes to have the planes in the air before winter. Keith, will such a strategy work should other highways be monitored this way?
Well, what's interesting to me is that this is not even remotely new, especially for Alberta, because I can remember for years on Highway 16, just outside the door of the studio here, that they had air surveillance on weekends coming home from Jasper and Lake Wabamun.
And
it was
people
bumper
knew
to
it?
bumper. We were going 25 miles an hour, and they were trying to catch speeders. But so it really is nothing new at all. And
Well,
it is intimidating a little bit to see that plane up there, and I think it does slow people down. But I don't know technologically whether this is going to be a great leap forward or not.
Well, that's the other bit of it. Rod, police in BC are under fire for using license plate scanners. A lot of people complain about Big Brother. Is this similar? Does it cross any boundaries?
I agree with Keith that we had it in Alberta years ago. The license scanning is a real big issue, and
explain for us a little bit more what that is and what the problem with it is.
The concern is that they scan the license plate, get data from the license plate or of the person who's associated to the plate. They may initiate traffic stops when they may not have the grounds to do that. And people don't realize that in Alberta, our government uses face recognition software to find people. And so...
And police are scanning your license plates perhaps all the time, just running a check routinely.
All the time. So I don't think the airplane is a big issue from a political perspective. They're just reacting to something that they should have changed years ago, and that's the highway.
That was my next question, Jason. The province, maybe, do you think a bit of a knee-jerk reaction here to public disgust with speeders and a lack of safety initiatives on 63? No cost given to boot. A bit of a red flag.
I don't think it's a knee-jerk reaction at all. Let's consider that 90% of collisions are caused by driver behavior. And in the short term, increased enforcement has been shown to change driver behavior. Now, if they, in the long term, sustain this kind of effort, it could probably have a significant impact on driver behavior in the future. I think what the knee-jerk reaction is thinking that twinning the highway to the exclusion of all other things is the panacea and the answer. Really, there's been so much focus on changing the road. What we need to be doing is changing driver behavior.
Keith, as a former assistant warden in the corrections system, what do you make of a project with no cost being released to the public at this point? Is that an issue?
So do you believe it when they release the costs? So I don't think it matters. And I think if it works, great. And I think if it is not working and if it's really expensive, it'll kind of fade away. and we'll never even know that they're not doing it anymore.
Is that why perhaps we don't have more air surveillance for criminal investigations in our big cities or other highways? Is it a cost issue?
Well, we do have helicopters, I think, in Calgary and in Edmonton, and they are very expensive, and I think that's a major issue.
Would it help if we gave police more aerial tools in some of the drug investigations, for example?
Oh, well, the police use aerial investigations in a lot of drug surveillance cases, and in fact, they use infrared cameras to detect heat to find marijuana grow operations. So the police use helicopters and planes all the time in their investigations.
Changing gears for just a moment before we finish up tonight, a class action lawsuit by RCMP officers is to have its first day before BC's Supreme Court Thursday. Launched by a woman officer alleging sexual harassment by male colleagues, more than 200 female RCMP from across Canada, though, have now contacted the law firm leading the suit. Jason, how damaging is the momentum of this suit for the RCMP even now?
It's not good. I mean, this is a police force that has just been hit by scandal after scandal. You think of the Robert Jukanski incident at the Vancouver airport with the officers tasering Jukanski and killing him, and then the conduct that came afterwards in terms of them being less than truthful on the stand. You know, a certain degree of scandal and misconduct is to be expected and maybe even understood in an organization as large as the RCMP. But really, you know, with just the succession of incidents that have taken place, you really do have to wonder if in the upper echelons of the RCMP, there's been a culture that's really lacked accountability and maybe looked the other way when misconduct has been happening. This really isn't a good sign for the RCMP at all.
Rod, we're pretty much out of time, but worst case scenario for the Mounties?
Well, a huge civil action. I agree with Jason. They're behind the times compared to urban police forces and human resources. They're still a paramilitary organization, and a lot of the things that they do with their members, I think, are 40, 50 years in the past, and they've got to get with the times.
Is the problem top down?
I'll tell you what the problem is, that all of these bastions of male employment, jail guards, police, they all have the same kind of phenomenon that men really don't want women doing those jobs. And I remember when we hired our first female parole officer, everybody said, oh, this is the end of the world, she'll be terrible. And they put a lot of heat on her. Of course, she was better than half the men. So, but that's the way it is. There are those areas of occupation that are very difficult for women to become equal in.
Thank you for your time tonight. Retired criminologist and former assistant jail warden Keith Spencer, defense lawyer Rod Gregory, and from the Calgary Herald, justice and social issues reporter Jason Van Rassel.